Have you ever looked at the world and felt a deep, unsettling disconnect? On one hand, the foundations of our society seem to be developing deep structural cracks. We see rising division, brittle supply chains, and a constant hum of crisis in the air. But on the other hand, our collective attention is glued to the next viral dance, the next celebrity drama, the next trivial outrage. It feels like we live in the most serious of times, yet we are determined to be the least serious of people. The house is on fire, but we're all busy arguing about the color of the curtains. This isn't an accident. It's a symptom of something deep in our social programming. But why, as the stakes get higher, does our focus drift to the utterly insignificant? If you feel like you're going crazy watching this unfold, you're not. You're not going crazy. You're just the first one in the room to smell the smoke. That feeling of dissonance is the most important signal in the world right now, and most people are trained to ignore it. This video is about a specific, invisible threat, the rapid decay of social trust and our growing addiction to what I call the Great Distraction. We are going to dissect the psychological blind spots that prevent an entire society from reacting to clear and present danger. We'll look at the programming in your own brain that makes you want to look away. And by the end of this video, you will not only understand this paradox, you will see it everywhere. More importantly, you will know how to guard yourself and your mind against it. Let's start with the foundational problem that nobody is talking about. Our social trust, the invisible glue that holds society together, is quietly disintegrating. Think of social trust as a shared bank account from which we all draw to cooperate and solve problems. For generations, that account was full, allowing us to build complex institutions and communities. But for the past few decades, we've been making massive withdrawals and almost no deposits. We see this erosion of trust in every corner of our lives. Data consistently shows a steep decline in public trust for nearly every major institution, from government and media to science and law. Online, we are algorithmically sorted into digital tribes that are trained to see the other side not as opponents, but as enemies. This isn't just about arguments on the internet. It translates into real-world division. Think about the last time you saw a genuine, good-faith debate between opposing political sides on a major news network. You probably can't, because it's largely been replaced by performative shouting matches designed for clips, not for understanding. Even on a local level, the effect is palpable. Do you know your neighbors' names, or would you trust them to watch your home for a week? For many people, the answer is a hesitant no, a stark contrast to just a generation or two ago. So what is the consequence of this trust collapse? A society with low trust becomes brittle and fragile. It loses the ability to solve big, complex problems because we can't even agree on what the problems are, let alone how to fix them. Climate change, national debt, infrastructure. These require immense social cooperation that is impossible without a foundation of trust. Our system becomes a ship sailing into a hurricane with a crew that refuses to work together to steer it. But simply knowing this threat isn't enough, because powerful forces in your own mind will make you forget this by tomorrow. So, if the problem is so obvious, the next logical question is the why. Why do we collectively look away from these glaring issues? The first culprit is a powerful mental shortcut called normalcy bias. Your brain is designed to save energy, so it operates on a simple, powerful assumption that tomorrow will be pretty much like today. This is your brain's autopilot, and it works great 99% of the time, keeping you sane and functional. But in times of major change, that same autopilot will fly you directly into the side of a mountain. It's the classic frog in boiling water scenario. The change is so gradual that our internal alarm system never trips. The second force is cognitive dissonance. This is the profound mental discomfort you feel when you hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. The belief, my society is stable and safe, clashes with the observation, I am seeing constant signs of decay and division. This dissonance creates a painful mental static, and your brain is desperate to resolve it. The easiest way to resolve it is not to change society, but to change your perception by either downplaying the threat or distracting yourself completely. This is why so many intelligent people you know seem willfully blind. Their brains are protecting them from this cognitive pain. So your brain isn't broken. It's just running ancient software in a modern world that is breaking. But here's the part that nobody talks about. The third and perhaps most modern force is what some call attentional commons depletion. Our collective attention is a finite resource, like clean air or fresh water. Historically, this resource was spent on local news, community issues, and national events. Today, it's being systematically strip-mined by an attention economy that profits from our distraction. People spend more mental energy debating a celebrity feud or a change in a video game than they do considering the stability of their own food supply. By the time a truly critical issue arises, our collective attention span is so fragmented and exhausted that we simply don't have the capacity to deal with it. If you are finding this breakdown of our hidden psychology valuable, and you're the kind of person who prefers to understand the world rather than ignore it, consider subscribing. We are building a community of clear thinkers here. This pattern of denial isn't new. It's a tragic feature of human history. Let's leave 2024 for a moment and travel back to the late Roman Empire in the 4th century. The empire was facing immense pressures: barbarian incursions, a debased currency, and political instability. The cracks in the foundation were becoming undeniable, visible to anyone who dared to look. But if you were a citizen in Rome, what was the state focused on providing you? Not structural solutions, but panem et circenses, bread and circuses. Free grain to keep the populace fed and massive, spectacular games in the Colosseum to keep them entertained and distracted. The state subsidized mass distraction as a form of social control. The chariot races were the reality TV of their day, generating intense factionalism and passion over something utterly meaningless to the fate of the empire. People were more invested in the victory of the Greens or the Blues racing teams than in the integrity of their borders. Now, let's bring it back to today. Does that pattern sound familiar? We no longer have state-sponsored gladiator games, but we have something far more effective and personalized. We have a device in our pocket that delivers an infinite stream of personalized circuses directly into our consciousness 24 hours a day. Our social media feeds, streaming services, and mobile games are the new Colosseum. They are engineered to be far more addictive and distracting than anything the Romans could have ever imagined. The Romans, at least, had to leave their homes to be distracted. The psychological effect, however, remains exactly the same. A population pacified by trivialities is a population that will not notice its own decline until it is far too late. This isn't just an abstract theory. You can see this paradox in action everywhere you look. Consider the bizarre coexistence of online doomerism and offline hyperconsumerism. Online forums are filled with young people convinced that civilization is ending and there's no future. Yet, those same people are often participants in the latest fashion trend, lining up for the newest phone and documenting their brunch on Instagram. Their beliefs say collapse, but their actions say consumer confidence is at an all-time high. This is cognitive dissonance resolved through behavior, not belief. Or think about how our information ecosystem processes threats. A serious report might emerge about a critical vulnerability in the global supply chain, threatening shortages of essential goods. That story might get a few thousand shares and a brief mention on the nightly news. The very next day, a new viral dance trend emerges, and it gets billions of views and dominates the cultural conversation for a week. Our collective attention, guided by algorithms, overwhelmingly prefers the trivial over the critical. And you've seen this, haven't you? Think about your own social media feed. What gets more engagement, a thoughtful analysis or an absurd meme? A final example can be found in personal finance. We witness people pouring their life savings into highly volatile meme stocks or cryptocurrencies, hoping for a lottery-like win. At the same time, surveys consistently show that a huge portion of the population doesn't have even $1,000 saved for a basic emergency. This is normalcy bias in its purest form. The belief that no real emergency will ever happen to me, so I can afford to gamble instead of prepare. In all these cases, the pattern is the same. The biggest threat isn't the crisis itself, but our trained inability to see it coming. It's a system of denial that is encouraged, automated, and deeply profitable for those who control the levers of attention. Okay, that was the bad news. And if you're feeling a little anxious, that's a normal and healthy reaction. But the point of this is not to scare you, it's to prepare you. This brings us to the most important question of all. What can we do about it? The first step is a mindset shift from passive anxiety to active observation. Step 1 is to go on an information diet. This doesn't mean being uninformed. It means curating your information intake to prioritize signal over noise. Step 2 is to embrace localism. Turn off the national political drama you can't control and get to know the person who lives across the street. Step 3 is to learn one anti-fragile skill. Learn to grow a vegetable, fix a simple engine, or purify water, something that has real-world value independent of the digital or financial systems. The goal is not to become a doomsday prepper, but to build a quiet confidence in your own resilience. Don't just watch the news, build your world. So let's recap this journey we've been on. We started with that unsettling feeling that our world is full of serious problems and even more unserious people. We identified the core issue as the collapse of social trust, made worse by a trio of psychological biases that push us towards denial. We saw how this exact pattern of denial in the face of decay has played out before in history. And we learned that the antidote isn't more anxiety, but active observation and deliberate local action. The central idea is this: social decay is happening, and our own psychology, amplified by technology, makes us want to look away. So when you see the cracks in the foundation, and everyone else is just staring at their phones, you no longer have to ask why. You know the mechanisms at play, and that knowledge is the first step toward freedom from them. Seeing the world clearly, especially when others refuse to, is not a curse. It is a superpower. If this video opened your eyes, do me a favor and click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Finally, leave a comment below with one warning sign you've noticed in your own life or community. Let's see what we're all observing together.